Have you ever noticed how much energy people waste trying to impress others, trying to prove their worth, trying to be seen? The truth is, the moment you start chasing attention, you lose direction. Real strength begins the moment you stop watching others and start observing yourself. Most people want to win loudly, but the masters of life always win in silence. I learned that power doesn't come from what people see. It comes from what you build when no one is watching. When you focus on yourself, your growth becomes invisible at first, but unstoppable in time. The question is, are you strong enough to stop competing with others and start competing with the person you were yesterday? Because that's how you win silently. 1. Silence is the training ground of power. When you stay silent, people might assume you're idle, lost, or uncertain. But what they cannot see is the war you're winning inside yourself. Silence is not emptiness. It is a sacred dojo where transformation takes place. When I trained, it was not to impress the crowd or to earn applause. I trained for something greater, mastery over my own mind. The noise of the world distracts you from hearing the truth that already lives inside. But in silence, that truth begins to whisper. You start to see your fears clearly, your weaknesses honestly, and your potential fully. It's uncomfortable at first because silence strips away all illusions. It forces you to meet yourself as you are, not as the world thinks you are. In that stillness, your thoughts stop racing. You begin to feel the rhythm of your own breathing, the weight of your own presence. You realize that power does not come from noise or speed or showing off. It comes from depth, patience, and alignment. Just like a martial artist who repeats the same move 1,000 times alone in the dark, you must repeat the disciplines that no one praises you for. That is where true growth happens. When no one is watching, and you still choose to give your best, that is when your character is being built. Understand this. Silence doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing everything that truly matters without distraction. It means choosing self-control over attention. You don't need to announce every step of your journey, because when the time comes, your results will make the noise for you. Power grows quietly, like a seed buried deep in the earth. It spends time unseen, gathering strength, pushing its roots into the darkness, until one day it breaks through the surface and faces the light. That's what silence does for the soul. It prepares you for your own becoming. 2. Stop competing, start evolving. Most people waste their lives trying to outshine others, chasing applause and measuring their worth by comparison. But that is a trap, one that keeps you chained to illusion. The truth is, when you compete with others, you are allowing them to define your limits. You start reacting to their pace, their achievements, their opinions. And in doing so, you lose touch with your own rhythm. When I trained, I never cared about being better than another fighter. I cared only about understanding myself, my movements, my weaknesses, my thoughts, my emotions. Because mastery isn't found in comparison, it's found in evolution. The only real fight is between who you were yesterday and who you can become today. When you stop competing, a strange kind of freedom enters your life. You no longer chase validation or fear judgment. You begin to see that other people's success doesn't diminish yours, it only reminds you of what's possible. Every person is walking their own path, carrying invisible battles you'll never understand. So why compete with someone when you have your own mountain to climb? Instead, focus all your energy on refining your craft, your discipline, your inner world. When you evolve from within, your growth becomes natural, not forced. You no longer need to prove your worth because it radiates from your presence. Understand this deeply. Competition is built on ego, but evolution is built on awareness. When you compete, you move outward, always trying to impress. But when you evolve, you move inward, always trying to understand. That's the difference between imitation and authenticity. True evolution happens in the quiet moments, when you reflect on your mistakes, when you push through your limits, when you choose progress over pride. You begin to notice small changes, sharper focus, calmer reactions, deeper understanding. That's how you know you're evolving. Remember, growth is not a race, it's a transformation. The bamboo grows slowly, invisible beneath the ground for years, but when it finally rises, it shoots up with incredible speed and strength. Be like that bamboo, patient, unseen, rooted in purpose. Let others chase the spotlight. Your only competition should be your reflection in the mirror, because the day you stop competing and start evolving, you become untouchable, not because you defeated others, but because you mastered yourself. 3. Be ruthless about your energy. Energy is your life force, the invisible current that fuels every thought, every word, every action. And yet, most people give it away carelessly. They waste it on meaningless arguments, on proving their worth to people who don't care, on replaying old memories that no longer exist. But a warrior knows that energy is sacred. Every drop of it counts. Every moment of attention is a seed you plant, and whatever you give energy to grows. If you give it to distractions, they multiply. If you give it to negativity, it spreads. But if you give it to purpose, discipline, and self-mastery, your entire life begins to transform. When I was training, I learned to protect my energy as if it were oxygen, because in battle, both are limited. You cannot waste breath or thought on things that don't serve your goal. I learned that anger, jealousy, and self-doubt drain the spirit faster than exhaustion. So I practiced awareness, noticing when my energy began to scatter, when I was reacting instead of acting. It takes discipline to walk away from meaningless noise, but that is where strength lies. In restraint. When you stop explaining yourself to everyone, you save energy. When you stop caring about how others see you, you save energy. When you stop feeding gossip, arguments, and opinions that don't evolve you, you save energy. And that saved energy becomes the fire that fuels your growth. Be ruthless about what deserves your focus. Every message, every conversation, every thought is either building you or breaking you. Guard your mind like a temple. Don't let negativity walk through its doors. You don't owe everyone your response or your time. Not everyone deserves your attention. Attention is currency, and the wise spend it on peace, not drama. Learn to say no without guilt. Learn to disconnect without fear. Every time you protect your energy, you're telling the universe that your peace matters more than approval. When you master your energy, life becomes clear. You stop being reactive and start being intentional. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer drain, you recharge. You no longer beg for balance, you create it. Because your energy is the compass of your soul, it points you toward what strengthens you and warns you against what weakens you. Listen to it. Protect it. Use it wisely. That's how warriors move, with precision, with awareness, with purpose. Remember, the more selective you are with your energy, the more powerful you become. 4. Isolation creates precision. There comes a time in every person's journey when silence and solitude become the only teachers left. The world today glorifies noise, constant connection, endless opinions, the need to always be seen and heard. But I learned that true mastery begins when you willingly step away from all of it. Isolation is not loneliness, it is refinement. When I isolated myself, people thought I was withdrawing or running away, but I was not escaping them, I was meeting myself. And meeting yourself is the most difficult, yet the most necessary battle of all. Because when you are alone, there are no distractions to hide behind. There's only your mind, raw, loud, unfiltered, showing you exactly who you are, what you fear, and what you must change. In isolation, everything slows down. You begin to hear the rhythm of your breath, the echo of your thoughts, the pulse of your emotions. You start to see patterns, habits that waste your time, thoughts that drain your energy, attachments that weaken your spirit. You begin to understand that most of the world is lost in motion, busy doing everything except the one thing that truly matters: evolving. That's why you must sometimes disappear, not to vanish from life, but to return sharper, clearer, and more powerful. The sword cannot stay sharp if it's constantly being used. It needs time away from the battlefield, time to be cleaned, to be honed, to be prepared. You are no different. When I spent hours alone training, meditating, and reflecting, I found clarity that no crowd could ever give me. Solitude showed me what my body could endure and what my spirit truly desired. It stripped me of illusions. When you are alone, there's no one left to impress. You begin to live authentically, not perform. That is when growth becomes real. You start to move with precision, every action intentional, every decision aligned with your purpose. You no longer act from reaction or emotion. You act from inner stillness. And that stillness is where true strength comes from. Don't fear isolation. Embrace it. The crowd gives you comfort, but solitude gives you truth. The crowd will praise you for fitting in, but isolation will transform you into someone who no longer needs approval. When you learn to walk alone, you stop fearing abandonment. You stop depending on noise to feel alive. You start to realize that your energy is sacred and your peace is your greatest power. So take time away. Train alone. Think deeply. Reflect honestly. Disconnect from the noise of the world until your inner voice becomes louder than every opinion around you. Because when you return from that solitude, you return with precision. You speak less but mean more. You act slower but achieve faster. You become calm, unshakable, and focused like a blade that knows exactly what it was forged for. Isolation doesn't weaken you, it sharpens you. It's the place where ordinary men fall apart and warriors are born. 5. Focus turns chaos into flow. In a world full of noise, distractions, and constant motion, focus has become a rare and sacred power. Most people scatter their energy across 1,000 directions, chasing attention, approval, and outcomes they cannot control. But when you learn to focus, truly focus, life itself begins to change. Focus is the bridge between confusion and clarity, between effort and mastery. It is not about doing more, it is about doing one thing with complete awareness. When I trained, I didn't just throw punches, I became the punch. I didn't just move, I became the movement. That is the essence of focus. It's when your mind, body, and spirit merge into one rhythm, and every distraction fades into silence. The problem is, most people live with their minds divided. Their body is in one place, but their thoughts are in another. They work, but they think about the past. They talk, but they worry about the future. Their attention is fragmented, and so is their life. But focus pulls you back to the present moment, the only place where power exists. When you focus, time slows down. Your senses sharpen. You start seeing what others miss because you are truly there. This is the foundation of mastery, the ability to be fully alive in one thing at a time. Whether it's training, thinking, reading, or resting, you give it everything you have. That's how greatness is built, not through speed, but through depth. When chaos surrounds you, focus becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady when others lose control. It turns frustration into flow. Have you ever noticed that when you are deeply immersed in something, a movement, a thought, a practice, the world disappears? That is flow, the state where effort dissolves into ease. You no longer try, you become. The noise in your head quiets, your emotions align, and everything feels natural, effortless. This is not magic, it's the result of full attention. The moment you stop dividing your energy and bring it all to the present, Life starts working with you instead of against you. But to reach that state, you must first remove what doesn't belong. Focus is not just about attention, it's about elimination. You cannot pour clean water into a cup filled with dirt. Likewise, you cannot focus while your mind is full of noise. Remove distractions. Stop multitasking. Stop seeking instant results. Instead, train your attention like a muscle. Start small, focus fully on one conversation, one breath, one task. With time, that concentration grows stronger, unshakable. The more you practice, the deeper your flow becomes, and soon you'll realize that focus itself is a form of meditation. When I was at my peak, people thought I had superhuman reflexes. But my secret wasn't speed, it was presence. I wasn't faster than others, I was simply there before they were. That's what focus gives you, the ability to live milliseconds ahead of the world, because you are not lost in thought. You are living in awareness. Focus turns chaos into clarity, and clarity into power. When you move with focus, the world slows down, and you can see its rhythm. You can see its flow. So, stop scattering your energy across 1,000 things that don't matter. Gather it, center it, pour it into what truly moves you. And when you master that focus, you'll discover what I discovered, that flow is not found in motion, but in stillness. The stillness of a mind so present that nothing can shake it, distract it, or break it. That is true freedom. That is true power. 6. Discipline is self-love in action. People often misunderstand discipline. They think it's a form of punishment, a harsh rule you impose on yourself, a burden that kills freedom. But discipline, my friend, is the highest expression of love, self-love. When you discipline yourself, you are not restricting your life. You are refining it. You are saying, I respect myself enough to do what strengthens me, not what weakens me. Discipline is the invisible line that separates those who talk about their dreams from those who live them. It's not built on motivation, because motivation fades. It's built on consistency, on showing up even when you don't feel like it, on keeping promises to yourself when no one is watching. When I was training, there were countless mornings when my body ached, when my mind whispered, "Rest, Bruce, you've done enough." But I knew that the body gives up long before the spirit does. So, I pushed through the pain, not because I enjoyed suffering, but because I loved the man I was becoming through it. Every drop of sweat was a message to myself, I am in control. That's what discipline is, a daily conversation between your present self and your future self. Your future self is watching, waiting to see what kind of decisions you make today. Will you choose comfort or will you choose growth? Discipline is love in its most demanding form because it requires sacrifice. It asks you to give up short-term pleasure for long-term peace. It asks you to say no when everyone else is saying yes. It forces you to confront your weaknesses instead of hiding behind excuses. But here's the truth. The pain of discipline is temporary, while the pain of regret lasts forever. Each time you choose discipline, you're planting a seed of strength inside you. You may not see it grow right away, but one day you'll look back and realize that everything you are, your confidence, your focus, your success, was built on those moments when you didn't give up. People say they want freedom, but freedom without discipline is chaos. Think of a river. If water flows without boundaries, it becomes a flood and destroys everything in its path. But when it is channeled, directed, and disciplined, it becomes powerful enough to generate electricity, to give life, to carve mountains. That's what discipline does for your energy. It gives direction to your chaos. It shapes your potential into something unstoppable. Every great fighter, philosopher, or creator you've ever admired didn't achieve greatness through talent alone. They achieved it through discipline. They trained when no one clapped, studied when no one cared, worked when everyone slept. You must train your mind to obey your purpose, not your impulses. The human mind is like an untrained horse, wild, restless, and untamed. Without discipline, it will drag you wherever it pleases. But with practice, you become its rider, its master. You begin to move with intention instead of instinct. You choose what thoughts to entertain, what habits to keep, what distractions to eliminate. That's what discipline gives you control over yourself. And when you control yourself, nothing outside you can control you. That is freedom in its purest form. Discipline also reveals who you truly are. When life gets hard, when challenges appear, when no one is there to push you, that's when your character is tested. It's easy to act motivated when things are going well. It's easy to talk about goals when you're inspired. But discipline shows itself in the dark moments when you rise early, even after failure, when you train even when your heart is heavy, when you stay true to your principles, even when temptation whispers your name. Those are the moments that define you. And when you look back, you'll realize that every great victory you've ever achieved was born in those small, silent acts of consistency. Let me tell you something important. Discipline is not about perfection. It's about persistence. You will stumble. You will fall. You will have days when you lose focus. But the secret is to rise again, to realign, to return to the path. Even one step forward after failure is a victory. Every time you choose to begin again, your discipline deepens. You learn that progress is not about never falling, it's about never staying down. Discipline gives you resilience, the ability to bend without breaking, to keep moving even when it hurts. And here's the beautiful part. Once discipline becomes part of you, it no longer feels like effort. It becomes your nature. You don't have to force yourself to do the right thing anymore. You simply do it because it feels wrong not to. That's when you know you've mastered it. Your habits align with your goals. Your thoughts align with your actions. Your days flow in harmony with your purpose. The same way a martial artist's movements become instinctive after years of repetition, your discipline becomes effortless, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. Most people treat self-love as comfort, taking breaks, indulging themselves, avoiding struggle. But real self-love is the opposite. It's teaching yourself to do what will make you proud in the long run. It's building a version of you that your future self will thank. It's waking up early, eating clean, thinking clearly, moving with intention, and respecting your own word. Discipline is the purest form of respect, not for the world, but for yourself. When you live with discipline, you start to attract peace. You're no longer haunted by procrastination, guilt, or regret. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to see results not instantly, but inevitably. And as you evolve, people will notice your calmness, your focus, your aura of control, but they won't understand the countless disciplined decisions behind it, the silent battles you fought with yourself every day. Let them wonder, because the warrior doesn't announce his discipline, he embodies it. So remember, discipline isn't something you do, it's something you become. It's a mindset, a rhythm, a way of living. It's choosing growth over comfort, purpose over pleasure, progress over excuses. And once you live this way, you no longer need to chase success. Success begins to follow you, because the universe always aligns with those who are consistent, patient, and disciplined enough to walk their path, no matter how long it takes. That is the secret. Discipline is not a prison, it's a path to freedom. It is not self-punishment, it is self-respect. It's not about controlling your life, it's about mastering yourself. And the one who masters himself becomes unstoppable, unshakable, and truly alive. 7. Let your success make the noise. In the modern world, everyone wants to be seen. People rush to show their progress, to prove their worth, to display their achievements before they've even matured into them. But true warriors, true masters of any craft, move in silence. They understand that real success does not need to shout, it echoes. It speaks through your actions, your results, your transformation. The louder you boast, the weaker your foundation. But when you let your work speak for itself, when your results are undeniable, no voice can silence that truth. That's why I always say, let your success make the noise. When I trained, I didn't post pictures or talk about what I was doing. I didn't need validation to confirm my purpose. I was obsessed with growth, not with attention. The world saw the fights, the movies, the philosophy, but they never saw the endless hours of discipline behind it. That's because I wasn't doing it for them. I was doing it for me. You must learn to live the same way. The world doesn't need to see your every step. It needs to feel your transformation when the time is right. Work in silence until your presence commands attention without a single word. Understand something deeply. Noise doesn't create success. Consistency does. Every minute you spend trying to convince people of your worth is a minute stolen from building it. Those who constantly talk about what they're going to do are usually the ones who never finish. But the one who keeps his head down, who builds quietly, who sacrifices without applause, that person becomes unstoppable. When you remove the need for recognition, you become free. You start living not for validation, but for purpose. And purpose is stronger than approval. Let others chase likes and followers. Let them talk about how hard they're working. You don't need that. You are not in this to be noticed. You are in this to become. While they seek attention, you seek alignment. While they chase applause, you chase precision. While they wait for praise, you are already moving toward mastery. Success is not about noise, it's about depth. It's about knowing that the work you do in the dark will shine by itself when the time comes. The bamboo plant teaches a powerful lesson about silence and patience. When you plant bamboo, nothing seems to happen for the first few years. You water it, nurture it, protect it, and still there is no visible growth. But what's happening beneath the surface is far more powerful. The roots are expanding, strengthening, anchoring deep into the ground. And then suddenly, one day, it shoots upward, growing several feet in just weeks. That's how success works. You might not see the progress for a long time, but if you stay consistent, your time will come, and when it does, it will be unstoppable. You must learn to be comfortable with being unseen. The silence of hard work is not emptiness. It's the sound of transformation. Every repetition, every early morning, every small act of discipline is shaping you into something powerful. But most people never make it there because they need the world to watch. They need applause to stay motivated. You must train yourself to thrive without it. Your strength should come from within, not from claps or recognition. When you can move without needing to be seen, that's when you become dangerous because you cannot be controlled by the opinions of others. Silence also protects your vision. When you talk too much about your plans, you invite doubt, jealousy, and unnecessary noise. People start to project their fears onto you. Some will discourage you, some will copy you, and some will secretly hope you fail. But when you move quietly, you protect your energy and your ideas. You give yourself space to grow in peace. The seed grows best in the dark, not under constant exposure. Let your dreams grow the same way. Nourish them privately until they are strong enough to face the light. You see, the world respects results, not intentions. You can talk endlessly about what you'll do, but in the end, people remember what you did. Every great achievement begins as a quiet decision, a silent commitment between you and yourself. That commitment is sacred. Guard it. Don't pollute it with attention-seeking. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the less power it holds. Real power builds through action. You don't need to announce your goals. Let time be your witness. Let results be your proof. And when your success finally arrives, stay humble. Don't let achievement turn into arrogance. Remember the silence that built you. Remember the nights when no one believed in you, but you still kept going. The true master remains calm even in victory. The lion doesn't roar to prove he's the king. He simply walks, and the jungle knows. That's how your success should feel. Not loud, not desperate, but undeniable. When you let your success make the noise, something profound happens. People begin to listen without you saying a word. Your energy speaks for you. Your consistency becomes your legacy. You inspire without performing. You lead without demanding. The very way you move, speak, and act becomes a lesson for others. That is real influence, not noise, but presence. But remember, silence is not about hiding. It's about preparation. It's about putting your head down, focusing on the craft, and letting life unfold naturally. The loudest people often burn out quickly because their fire was made of attention, not purpose. But those who work in silence, their fire is eternal, fueled by vision, by love for the work itself. That's why you must never measure your progress by how visible it is to others. The tree doesn't ask the forest if it's growing tall enough, it just grows. So stop explaining, stop proving, stop performing. You owe no one your progress. You owe yourself your commitment. Keep working, keep refining, keep showing up. And when your time comes, when your results speak, let them roar on your behalf. Because no voice is louder than the silence of success earned through relentless focus and discipline. In the end, a warrior doesn't need to tell the world who he is. His actions reveal it. His silence intimidates more than any speech ever could. The world may not see your grind, your sacrifices, your lonely nights, but it will one day see your transformation. That's the moment you've been preparing for, not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. So train in silence, build in silence, evolve in silence. Because when your success finally speaks, it will speak so loudly that the world will have no choice but to listen. In the end, everything returns to one truth. Your greatest battles are fought in silence, not against others, but within yourself. The path to mastery, peace, and fulfillment has never been about noise or recognition. It has always been about presence, focus, and self-mastery. When you learn to focus on yourself, not to please the world, but to strengthen your mind, your discipline, and your spirit, you begin to move differently. You stop seeking attention and start commanding respect without ever asking for it. The world feels your growth, even if it never sees your process. That is the essence of true power, quiet, grounded, and unshakable. I have always said, a wise man is self-sufficient. He doesn't depend on applause or approval. Your mission in life is not to impress others, but to express your highest potential. You must become so focused on your own evolution that external opinions lose all meaning. People may misunderstand your silence, but silence is not weakness, it's maturity. It's knowing that not every thought deserves to be spoken, not every action needs to be shown, and not every move needs to be announced. When you are grounded within, the world outside cannot disturb your peace. Understand this: the one who masters himself becomes invincible, not because he can control everything around him, but because nothing around him can control him. That's what true freedom feels like, being centered in your purpose, untouchable by noise, unshaken by chaos. When you focus on yourself, you begin to see clearly what matters and what doesn't. You stop reacting to life and start creating it. Every day becomes a form of training in patience, in awareness, in strength, and with every moment of discipline, you grow more aligned with who you were meant to be. The world will always be loud. People will always talk. But let them. Your job is to remain still, to keep moving silently toward your goals, to grow deeper, wiser, stronger. Let your results speak in a language that words cannot match. Let your transformation echo through your actions. Remember, a river never announces its flow, yet it shapes mountains. Fire never asks for attention, yet it transforms everything it touches. Be like that, quiet but powerful, invisible in effort but undeniable in impact. So, stop chasing noise and start chasing depth. Don't seek validation, seek evolution. Don't strive to be seen, strive to be unshakable. Because in the end, the one who focuses inward wins outwardly. You don't need to prove who you are. Just keep working, keep growing, keep becoming. One day, your silence will roar louder than every voice that ever doubted you. And when that day comes, you won't even need to celebrate, because the victory will already live within you. That is how you win silently.